Good morning. It's so wonderful to be back here. Mr. Holderness mentioned that 2019 has been that long since we've all been together. My name is Mark Cotton. I'm the current chair of council. And because it feels like a rebirth, we thought we were going to do something completely different to this evening, or this morning. Feels like the evening already, but it's still the morning. So without further ado, and I realize up front that we've thrown a real spanner in the works with the staff betting pool around the length of our speeches. I think the girls might also have something on the side there as well as to how long my speech is going to be and how long Mr. de Villiers' speech is going to be. So we're throwing all that up in the air, and without further ado, please welcome a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Yanni de Villiers.
Can you all hear me? I've always wanted to be a TED talker. But the real reason I wanted to be a TED talker was to stand on that red carpet, you know, that round one. And I see they didn't get that. So it's a little bit of a letdown, but at least I get to wear the shirt. Hello, Mr. Cotton. Hope you feel good. So we're going to entertain you today with some of the vision that we have for our school, celebrating who we are, and maybe sharing with you a little bit about where we think we're going. So here we are, as Erin and Kanya shared with us, reflecting on quite a rough ride that we had over the last 2 years. And what COVID taught us was that we are allowed to think out the box and the sky is not going to fall. It taught us that the silver lining, to quote Sibonga the frog, the silver lining is really the opportunity that this disruption offered us. And it really shook us to say, are we going to just go same old, or is it time to think differently? And for me, it was such a wake-up call that we are storming into the 21st century and beyond, and same old's just not going to cut it. And we have to think deeply about what could the DSG of the 21st century look like. And for those of you who haven't noticed yet, we are already there. This is not the 21st century we are on our way to. We are quite far into it, almost a third. And what we are sharing here today has got a little bit to do with that. So, to you girls who sit here in front of me, in the year 2050, I think the matrics will be 46 years old. So you might find yourself back here, a few rows back, and you might be here to come and support your daughter. Not so long until that happened. I know, someone told me that just the other day, and here I am. A little bit later, when I speak to the matric specifically, I will share with you a few facts that Ms. Stretton shared with me this week, which shook me, realizing how much the world changed just in their 18 years of existence. So imagine the next 18 years, or maybe the next 30. And if we look at that, and we think of that, then we know that school needs to keep up.
So we really had to go back to the drawing books, and part of council's prime objective is to look into the future and really examine what our vision is, what motivates us, and what we strive to offer as a school. And it really comes down to these three things. What is our purpose? What is our intent? And what is our ambition? And really, our purpose is to ensure that we help young women to exceed their own expectations and to excel in the world that they're going to face. And that's fundamentally what it comes down to. And in order to do that, we need to be mindful and very intentional in creating a unique learning environment and living experience, really grounded in our proud history as well. So it helps not to forget the past. We always have to learn from the past, but we need to move forward in a new and different way. And ultimately what we want to be is the girls' boarding school of choice, not in South Africa, but on the African continent.
So we stood still and we started by thinking about what are the fundamentals that need to be in place in a school like this? What are the things that are not negotiable before we even know that we are green or that we are special in any sort of a way? And we came up with a checklist of what we think are some of the things that need to be in place for a school of our caliber. And here are some of the fundamentals, and as you sit there, you can go through them and think about how strongly are these in place. And we are not a perfect school by any stretch of the imagination, but we certainly strive to get this at least right. A sustainable infrastructure and services, so that's why the food is so good.
This is not the part when the girls get to provide direct feedback. I get a late opportunity later on.
I love your funny sense of humor. Feedback. Anyway, we know that especially over the last number of months, we had specifically focused on what a safe school is and what that means in every sense of the word. A consistent, excellent academic program and our co-curricular offer, and then one that Miss Tia Steele actually said to me, must put this on. That one, a disciplined school culture. I think it's not to be underestimated. Come clicker. Here you go. But we also need to have our finance and governance in place. And I know that I can say to you here that we run a tight ship in that department. We're trying to have visionary leadership, not always so lacquer with my vision, but we have the luxury of having excellent facilities and quality staff. There they sit. And I must say that if anything makes me cry today, it will be the staff that we have at the school and what they put in. And of course, last but not least, the super Wi-Fi that we have on the school campus. Thank you. So, this is not the message we came to give you today. That's the boring stuff. But if it's not there, we are actually not delivering what we should with integrity. The second thing we asked ourselves was, okay, this might be good and well, but what is it that makes people choose our school and have made them choose our school for 150 years? Can we drill down, right down to what differentiates us and what the value proposition is? And we would love to share with you those bullet points and talk a little bit more about that because we feel very passionate about that.
So we start the first one, intentional Christian ethos. We often talk about ensuring that we instill Christian values, which is all about integrity, honesty, kindness, trust. But the key word there is intentional. This is not something that we insist the girls show up at chapel every Sunday to check the box. This is about making sure that we instill Christian values into all the decision making that we do as well. So as we sit at council, when we get to the really tough stuff, this is what we come back to, is our Christian values, which I think are shared universally by us all. And that really helps us to steer the middle path in many cases. So it's all about being intentional, and intentional about how we educate the girls relative to these Christian values as well.
Our next differentiator is our full-term boarding model. We are the last school in South Africa offering only full-term boarding and not a weekly boarding option. And that is intentional because we know that that is the secret magic that keeps our boarding community together. And then in that, we mix the day girls who have free access to our boarding houses. And that is also something that's fairly unique to our school. I speak to many people about what their schools look like and how they operate, and many of them find it very strange that we just have an open door policy with day girls and don't have a little den for them somewhere in the dark corner of the campus. So that is something that we don't want to change, and it's the reason why we attract also families from so far and wide. Do you know that at DSG and St. Andrews College, we have 18 countries represented? The girls in any year group come from anything between 29 and 33 primary schools. And from so many different families and different backgrounds, and that authentic diversity is so beautiful. And I think the full-term boarding is definitely one of the reasons for that.
So this isn't always an easy one, living in the town that we call home, right, Makanda. But we do live in frontier country, and frontier country historically has developed people with grit. And I think the opportunity for the girls to rub up against this community in that regard and get a little bit of that grittiness is really important. And not to mention as well the fact that I think we are co-located with a town that is far more representative of the rest of South Africa. We don't have the luxury of being in a bubble. Our community service forces the girls to be out there amongst communities that are really, it's tough, but it's far more representative of South Africa, and there's so much wealth that can be gained from that, and knowledge that can be gained of that. So this is a very important aspect where we are located, and a huge differentiator, I think, for us as a family of schools. And speaking of families of schools, Yanni, very difficult to get good help these days. So, speaking of family of schools, this is one as an old Andrew that I'm especially passionate about. We have a very unique co-curricular activity environment here between the family of schools. And it cannot be underestimated. In my first speech, I spoke directly to this, that I believe that the family of schools is absolutely key to our survival and how we project ourselves to the rest of the country and how unique our offering is. But I want to say that now as we stand here, I think it is the key to our thriving as a family of schools. We are in an absolute moment of history, I think, with where the schools stand, and a pivotal moment in our relationship between all our schools. And from a DSG perspective, we are absolutely committed to making sure that this is a huge differentiator for our family of schools in totality. And we're not going to rest until we see that happen. So I can't overemphasize how important our relationship is with St. Andrew's College, and we're going to work tirelessly to make sure that we take that to a completely new level.
The authentic diversity of our school community is right up there for me among our most powerful differentiators. And the word authentic there is the one that's very important to me. It's not a diversity among our students that was created artificially. It is a diversity that is attracted to our school because of who we are and what we offer. And it started a spiral that we are very, very proud of. And here I'm not only referring to ethnic diversity. It's not as simple and as shallow as that. As I said to you just now, we have girls coming from all over the world really, but especially all over our continent. I travelled Africa this year. I went to Kampala, Nairobi, Lilongwe, Lusaka, Windhoek, and Dar es Salaam to go and visit where our girls come from and to go meet the people there and see how they live. And it just blew my mind. And I think we should really actually make an effort to get girls from the school out there to go see what our continent looks like, what the challenges of our continent looks like, and what the immense energy and potential of our continent looks like. I came back absolutely inspired about this continent after visiting all those people. And maybe it's mostly so because of the hospitality that we had and the way we were received. So don't dream about skipping the ocean, because the real magic is on this continent, and it's right here in our school where we can learn from each other. We are here in the first place for our academics, and it's very important that our academic program and what we offer there and what we do there remains not only a fundamental, but keeps being a differentiator. And the question is, how are we going to keep making sure that that's really the case? The broad offering of the IB as well as the A-level program is one example, but it's not the only example. That is the broad stroke, and it has served us very well strategically as a school in differentiating us as one of the schools now, family of schools now in the country, that offers the A-level program really in a way that sets us apart. When the schools are listed offering that program, we are right up there, and it's a wonderful thing. But that academic offering goes far, far deeper than that. It goes to how we select people when they apply for us to come and teach. What happens in every classroom? How every teacher is giving the agency to follow their own style and their own energy and their own way, and trusting their professionalism, and equipping girls with skills and knowledge that is actually beyond and maybe even very different from what the curriculum and the syllabus is saying.
So we are in a unique position as two schools. We are one of the few, if not the only schools that have their own Rhodes Scholarship. And from a DSG perspective, this presents a wonderful opportunity. I'll get my facts wrong, but I think the last 4 or 5 Rhodes Scholars have been DSG girls, and indeed the Rhodes Scholar for this year is also yet again a DSG girl. So I think for our student body, it just creates a phenomenal opportunity and something to strive towards, and obviously a magical experience if you do get awarded with Rhodes Scholarship. So this is just a wonderful opportunity for the girls.
It was such an amazing experience to interview Mary Coast, who is our Rhodes Scholar elect for this year. We just finished that process, and listened to these old girls talk about their schooling and the fight that they want to fight for the world. So not only is it a differentiator in the sense that it offers something really, really valuable to those who are really academically inclined and wanting to make a big scale difference, but it also is a lever for our institution to impact the world out there. And lastly but not least is the co-curricular program that we offer. And this could look a little more like a fundamental, because we know that many schools out there that are our peers offer very, very comprehensive and wonderful co-curricular programs. But I think that the way we think about that is important, and why we do it, and that we always understand what is behind our co-curricular program. And there are a couple of indicators in our school. Just this week, this balloon week, and a little bit before that, going and seeing how our dancers, our drama department, and the girls and boys in the drama department, the arts and the arts overall performed, and what is being learned and taught and displayed and communicated there is incredible. And our sports offer, the program that we have for lifestyle sports is unique in the country. Not only because of the activities that we offer, but the sophistication of that, the intentionality of that, and the number of girls who benefit from that. And in our outdoor program, we all know about the journey that really sets our school apart. And linked to that, all the other outdoor programs that we offer. And we need to keep knowing that what we offer there is well thought through and really is something that sets us apart. I'm going to play a short 1-minute video clip to give you an idea of what our thinking sounds like, with a few insights into what the school looks like. At a pivotal point in our school's history, 150 years since its inception, and shortly after humanity was shaken to its core by the novel coronavirus of 2019, we applied our minds to strategize around the future of learning at DSG. As we focus on the future, we look back on a 150-year track record of excellence in educating girls to take their place in the world with confidence, competence, and compassion, all with the support and camaraderie of a powerful sisterhood that spans the globe. How can we ensure the sustainability and flourishing future of DSG to continue to be a premium boarding school of choice on our continent,
and impact the broader community in which we are situated. We share our strategy, 21C at DSG, a strategy born out of passion and purpose, and one which focuses on 5 growth points over the next 5 years.
So, talking about differentiators, talking about fundamentals, that is what we discovered in our process of thinking deeply about the school that is on offer right now. But that's not the real question. The question I started with was, where are we going here? And it's the responsibility of school leadership and council to, every couple of years, look ahead and say, what will our intentional strategy be going forward? It doesn't mean that we stop doing what we're doing. It means, can we highlight a couple of themes that we think are going to be very important in going forward? And so we set off to first ask this question: what is the challenge? Right here in 2022, where we're looking into the future and into the 21st century. And the thing we concluded was that what the challenge is not is that we have to beat the bots in your future. And I think often that thinking area is made by educational institutions. And they think, mix it with a little bit of robotics and coding, and Bob's your uncle, we should beat the bots, and you go into the world with a sense of false security. I love reading the work of a futurist called Noah Yuval Harari. If you want to read a book that's really going to shake your core, go read his book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. And this is a man who's a very, very deep intellectual thinker, and his focus of thinking is the future, and what the future of our lives might look like, and what the future of work might look like. And he boils it all down to saying that it's not about this. He says it's about how we are going to be humans in the 21st century. He says it is about refining our humanness and making a contribution. Refining our humanness and making a contribution. That's a very rich 2 sentences there, because it touches on our connection with people, without which we will quite literally not survive. And then it talks about living outwards towards others and for the benefit of others instead of living inwards. And so we said, what does it boil down to? Let's try and keep it simple the whole time, because we could get very complicated. Mr. Harari's book is about 300 pages long. We can't memorize that. And it was so fascinating when we looked at what the fundamentals are that we should be looking at. We came up with the following. In the first place, it's about building character. In the first place, it's about building character. If you imagine a DSG girl leaving our school with a backpack, what is in that backpack that's going to help her navigate the 21st century? And the first, most important, is character. And in that word is enfolded everything we teach, learn, and grapple with around who we are. It is our Christian ethos and the core values that underpin that. It is our relationships with our peers and with our parents and with our teachers. It's our conflict around difficult discussions. It's all that stuff that makes you the character, the human that you are. It's about capability. Learning hard skills, learning soft skills, having knowledge, and walking with a sense that you are capable. You've got skills. You know stuff. And you understand what's going on around you. It's what we put into the curriculum. And it's about connection. That happens in between classes. And maybe there was wisdom in what Tanya and Aaron said. Maybe we should make the gap between lessons 10 minutes again, because we need to build on this. That's when this happens. Also happened this week with a little bit of shaving cream and other things. But all of that is what we pick up. Our boarding model and the connection that we make with people is very important. And with those three arrows in your quiver, a DSG girl can be courageous. You can walk out with courage, which does not mean you walk out fearlessly, because fearlessness is actually not very clever. Courage is a very different thing. Courage says, I can step forward, I can step into vulnerability because, why? Because I know who I am. I know what my character is. I know what I can do. And I have my people. And what we really dream of is not that leadership equates prefectship and anything shallow like that, but that we know that every DSG girl walks out of our school with her authentic leadership ignited, ready to make a contribution in this world. And whatever that looks like is all about who you are. Because the truth is this, none of us will ever get away with never having to be the leader in the room.
So really, how did we apply our minds to these challenges? So as council and some of the senior leadership, we went and shoved ourselves out of the monastery for a weekend. And we thought really deeply and inquired of ourselves, what should this look like? And we've covered off on a few of these already, but what we came back with is, what is our value proposition? What are the fundamentals that we aspire to? What are truly our differentiators? What are the challenges that we face, as Mr. Duffy just articulated? But really what it came down to, what are our opportunities that we have, the hopes and the dreams that we have for DSG? And the result was this notion of 21C at DSG, which really comes down to 5 key differentiators, which we're going to take you through briefly now, and 2 really strategic enabling goals. So I'd just like to pause for a minute here because I wanted to thank Council in this moment. Council is a volunteer activity, and we have an absolutely phenomenal council at the moment. A very diverse council of all different people from different backgrounds that come with just a phenomenal amount of knowledge that they contribute free of charge, as it were, to the school. And without them, we really would be a different place. So, just to those who are here and those that will be listening to this later, just a huge thank you from my side for all the hours and hours. This was a weekend, but this was a weekend in amongst hours and hours of contribution that they put in every year in and year out to the school. So thank you.
Can you say thanks to So our 5 identified differentiators that we call our new differentiators going into the future of the school are on the screen here. And what we're really showing you there is what we think the room would look like finished, when we have developed further what we want to identify as our focuses. And what you will see there is there's nothing really new there. We haven't decided on anything spectacular, but we've decided that there are a couple of things and a couple of pillars in our school that we really want to be intentional about over the next couple of years. And if this is all done, then we will have a future-minded and career-minded ISTEAM Centre and a life skills learning program in the school. A lot of that is already happening in classes, but we want to be a bit more intentional about that. And one of the ideas is to convert the current Victoria Library into what we might call the On-Advance Centre, which will be a space for different learning. It will not lose its character, but we want it to be a space where we can really inspire girls and staff to take the curriculum further and to think out the box and to learn in a different way. We are very intentionally looking at our new pupil leadership program. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Because we know that we've got to do leadership differently. We're going to want to focus very intentionally on our community and environmental focuses and our social and emotional development. We know we've got a new portfolio in the school called PDW. That's where that is plugged in. And our co-curricular program, again, thinking deeply about where we want to take that next. So the first pillar I'm not going to read you what's on the screen. I know that this is a very bad slide when you do PowerPoint stuff, but I want you to maybe read there while I'm talking. The first pillar that we want to really focus on has to do with how we do our academics and what life skills we are teaching them. And the idea now is to look at especially the part of the school that spans from grade 6 to grade 9, where there is a wonderful opportunity to turn their curriculum on its head a little bit. And we will be engaging our staff to think out the box, because they've got all the skills and all the knowledge to do things a little bit differently. There's Mr. Harari who says that we've got to do things differently. And some of the ideas or some of the targets that we have in this pillar is to really have evidence that we're teaching girls to problem solve and not hope that they pick that up sort of on the fly. To look at, is blended learning maybe something that we could take to the next level and do it a little bit differently? To teach people what design thinking looks like. And design thinking is not what you do in the design and technology center. It's about understanding processes from a passion or a problem to finally a solution. Entrepreneurship is always a very difficult thing for schools to teach. And we need to apply our minds, because we are being told again and again and again by the outside world that we are failing our students because we are not igniting the entrepreneurship. And I can tell you one thing: when you travel through our continent, you see entrepreneurship everywhere, because there it's a necessity and it's quite inspirational. And of course, we want to really be intentional about looking at future careers and understanding what it is that is awaiting you. The concept, for instance, that you girls sitting here might have 3 or 4 careers. You don't go to studies for 4 years, get your degree, and then you're on track to be whatever you think you are. All the research shows that we are in for a very bumpy ride, and you might have to change gear a few times in your life.
Which brings us on to leadership. And this is one that I'm especially passionate about, because I think we start with the overarching statement that the world needs more women leaders. I think that that's a given. And we have our part to play in a unique opportunity to fuel and flood the world with phenomenal leaders. So, as Mr. Levin said earlier, it's not about prefectship. This is about being very purposeful of taking the girls all the way from grade 4 to grade 12 and having a very systematic and thought-through program that takes them on that leadership journey. Because every girl has an authentic leader inside them. And it might not be what we would traditionally call leadership, but they will be called upon at some time to show leadership. And we have to play our part to equip them to find what that leader is that they have inside them, so that they can contribute to the world in a profound manner.
So the way to next, for your interest, we are currently in discussions with a group of staff members who have put their hands up and said they want to help us think about what might our leadership look like even from next year onwards. We are in partnership with the Rhodes Business School, who have lots of expertise. We have reached out to the African Leadership Institute. That's a very powerful South African-based but world-renowned institution. And we are also partnering with a number of individuals out there who do this kind of work. The reason we're doing that is because we don't want to just look inward to find what the new approach should look like. We want to learn from what is required out there to try and bridge that gap. Our community and environmental responsibility is something that the school has always taken seriously. So again, I'm saying it's nothing brand new, but we see this in the moment where we live as an aspect of our school that cannot be just one of the things that we do, or maybe even on the back burner for some girls. It needs to be front and center for us. In fact, I would go as far as saying that is one of the reasons why we exist as a school, is to really change the hearts and change as I said there, the hard work of going out and tending maybe the DSG vegetable farm, and change that into heart work, so that we are hoping that girls will move out of here and they will never fall out of the habit of being a volunteer. out of the instinct of reaching out to the most vulnerable. But we also have another responsibility. So the first is the responsibility to educate around these issues. But the other responsibility is the one that we have as an institution in this town, in this province, and in this country, and on this continent. As an institution, we cannot exist here in a bubble, and we have to have an impact around us. We know we have that, and I'm very proud of that. But going into the next phase, we know that we need to be very intentional about that. So we are trying to create opportunities and experiences for girls to participate in that. And many of you girls sitting here, in fact, I want to say, by far the majority of you girls sitting here are involved in our community engagement program. The grade 9s this year ran a vegetable farm for the whole year. And I wonder how many, I think they might have produced a ton of vegetables through the year. Every Friday they harvest. So you have been involved in that. As an institution, we are looking at a solar project on the aquatic centre to get really serious about our carbon footprint and our sustainability on campus with responsibility. We can't solve a load shedding by burning diesel forever. We've got to find new ways to do it, and that will be the first project. Our co-curricular program is one which is also going to be a focus for us going forward. We have a very rich co-curricular program, and I know Mr. Cotton is very passionate about that, so I'd rather let him speak about it. I always tell his thunder.
Try and keep me honest. So, I think everybody understands the concept of co-curricular, but I think there's some very key messages that come through here, and the one is we've got to maintain a focus on participation, and that's the first point. So everybody needs to play. And this can be sometimes misconstrued that we're not looking for excellence. So for the girls that really want to excel at a particular sport or co-curricular activity, we must provide the quality of coaching and the quality of support that helps them to meet their potential in that regard, whatever it might be. So I just want to be clear, it's not to mix the two up. The other thing is obviously very important is to have well-rounded people and well-rounded girls. And so we need to provide a diverse number of interests and abilities that they can attach themselves to. I think it's always, when people ask me, well, you know, why private education? And for me, a lot of the time it's this. It's that every single girl or pupil can find something to excel at, which might not be sport and might not be academics. But if you can succeed at something, one thing, that builds the courage that Mr. De Villiers was talking about a little bit earlier. So co-curricular will always be a very important part of what we do. And we'll be working with college as well to look at Journey 2.0. Journey is such an amazing and incredible experience, and there's so much more that we can do with it. So we will be looking into that in the future as well.
Social and emotional wellness is something that many schools are talking about. And we took the initiative last year already to create an office for that and to appoint someone who specifically does the thinking and the driving around this issue for us, Ms. Cindy Fumbata and her team. And here we circle back to that sense of connection. You can read there what Brené Brown writes about the importance of connection. I don't have to reiterate that. I've said enough about that already. But I think this is a very powerful and a very important initiative that we are taking and going to take very deliberately. Already in our program for the year, the PDW office visits every year group. So every year group, matrics, grade 11s, grade 8s, 9s, have got a focus that they have with this program that is appropriate for where they are in their journey in the school, but it's also a very deliberate approach to be proactive. We have a wonderful wellness team and a wonderful wellness structure at DSG, and we have a catch net to hold girls when things go wrong, and they do often. We live in this world still. But what we identified here was that we might not be strong enough in being proactively looking at supporting girls, so that it's not necessary for you to fall on the wellness structure. And this is really, I think, the heart of this program, and where we will be very intentional about this.
So those are the five, but really they'll be of little import or make very little difference if we don't focus on the first item up there, because that's ultimately where the rubber hits the road and where it will happen. So we, as council, are absolutely committed to making sure that we have the right resources and the right focus around recruiting, retaining excellent, diverse teaching and coaching staff. And my personal thanks to the teachers. The last 2-3 years have been, I don't think, anything that any of us could have expected. And it's the staff and their dedication that have pulled us through it. So just a huge thank you to the staff. And naturally, this is going to be an absolutely And in the same vein, we can aspire to many things, but if we don't have the resources, it's going to be exceptionally difficult to attain them. Mr. De Villiers is going to speak in a little bit more detail, but that's why we're launching the substantial Future Leaders Fund for scholarships and bursaries. And I won't steal his thunder, but so we'll keep moving. But these two items are going to be pivotal for our path moving forward.
So before we get to that, we're going to change a little bit of gear now. And here we are, we're looking at this exciting strategy going forward, at a point where we are counting down the days, almost, to our birthday, our 150th birthday, which will be in 2024. And it's just to share with you a little bit, especially the parents here, and everybody really, what this will be all about. We are thinking a lot about how do we make this a really wonderful moment in our school history, and also a significant one. And firstly, it will be about celebrating. We want to use this as an opportunity to build our community, and literally by getting together more often. The parents' lunch on Saturday was such a wonderful event, where parents got to know new parents, rekindled relationships that was disrupted by COVID, and it was just so easy to be together. And a lot more of that is what we've got in mind in also celebrating our 150. We want it to be people-focused, we want it to be welcome and warm and fun, and we really want to create and share that Eastern Cape hospitality that is so special in our 150. So follow us online, and I know many people are already. There's more and more being shown there, and if you're looking for your next beach bag, maybe you should buy it from the DSG 150 shop. And then I want to ask you to pencil in your diaries the weekend of 9 to 12 May 2024. There's no excuse. And be here or stay there for the rest of your life. So the celebration is one very important aspect of doing 150. But the other is, it also creates a very special opportunity for us to look at how do we build the financial sustainability of the school, as Mark said, and to give us the ability to do what we're setting out to do. And really what we are trying to establish there is to enable us to enable girls from all backgrounds to access the opportunity to learn and grow at our school, and to have the freedom to give access to girls for that. The first very high priority for us in that regard is to retain our unique blend of people, which I spoke about earlier. We never want to slip back into all looking the same again. We want to have that blend because we think it is really the special part of what our school is all about. And in that blend is a flavor that is the Eastern Cape flavor. It is the people of our province that always has to be here, because this school cannot be a school in the Eastern Cape for people from elsewhere only. Everybody's welcome here, but this flavour is something that we value very highly, and one of the reasons why we are very intentional about building up the capacity to ensure that that is there in going forward. We also want to be able to offer robust support to families that we are offering access to our school, and that also requires resources. We are very intentional about that, so that we make sure that any girl who joins our school, through whichever means, must never feel that she's the other. That is foundational about who we are. And then I thought this was also maybe a good point to mention to you that part of that strategy is something that we've been doing for a couple of years already. We have a formal relationship with Rhodes University, where we are able to strike a bridge from our schooling into tertiary education going forward, and making sure that no girl finishes her matric and do not have an option for what happens next. And this one, I don't want to talk about.
I'll come centre stage. Everybody, I'm an equal opportunity target. But, by the way, we locked all the doors, so no parents can exit at this point. Right? But really, I think everybody knows that the boys' private schools in this country all have large endowment funds. And as girls' schools, we do not. And there's obviously a historic reason for that. But in this day and age, I refuse to believe that parents, old girls, care less about their daughter's education than they do about their son's education. So that is why this is quite an audacious goal, but one that we are committed with your help to achieving. Because it is really important for girls' schools to develop, I don't even want to call it a safety net, because I think what Mr. De Villiers just spoke about is really important. Create the options so that we can keep the school authentically Eastern Cape, and create and maintain the diversity of scholars that can come to the school. So it is a big audacious goal. We are already on our way, and Mr. De Villiers is going to explain a little bit how everybody can help us on this particular journey.
So, when you are very ambitious about building this kind of security, how do we make it possible for people to come alongside us and partner with us? And the first strategy that we're going to apply is to look for institutional partnerships, because we believe that what we are doing at our core here, which is to empower girls to become women who make a difference out there, a real impactful difference, is an extremely important cause that we are serving, and a cause that the world is serious about, and a cause that institutions and companies and even governments out there are very, very serious about. It was so interesting through Women's Month in August. I followed a couple of channels and events that looked really very deeply at the importance of looking at empowering women for the future. And this is why we are going out there and presenting what we are trying to achieve to people and companies who might be interested in that. We also are looking for what we call community partnerships. And these are people in our community who have the means to really come to partner with us in a very intentional and very powerful way. And here we are happy to share more about what we have got in mind with those. And we know that over the years, many families, individuals, and groups have come alongside our school and other schools and made a massive difference in what we want to achieve. But this is really what I'm excited about. It is the fact that each of us here, even the girls who are sitting here in these rows, can actually look at this and say, yes, I want to actually be part of this school's execution of its social responsibility. And I want to chip in my drop into the bucket. And the way we're going to give you the opportunity to do that is through what we call the 150 Club. We call it the 150 Club because it's a theme, but it's also linked to something that's really attainable for most of us. It's a scheme. If you go onto our website, you can go to the 150th. There's a link there, and it talks more about our 150 Club. And it's simply this: to commit to contribute to this cause 150 rands a month, which, if you live in Sandton, I'm told, is the equivalent of 2.5 cappuccinos. and maybe 2.5 pies. So really, just hold in for a bit, and you can make a massive difference. And this is about the economy of scale. So if you do the math and you look at just the people in this hall, what they will be able to achieve in partnering in this way, it becomes very, very powerful. And so I challenge and encourage and invite every single one of us to go explore that and see if you could maybe make that commitment. I'm clicking, I promise. Here you go.
So yeah.
Yes.
So I always end up all my speeches with a message for the girls. You'll be relieved to hear end up. There's lots of nodding up front here. So with a message for the girls. And you might be surprised to hear that Mr. De Villiers and I don't have a very in-depth knowledge of what it means to be a DSG old girl. So we reached out to the old girl community and asked them to come up with what it means for them to be old girls. And this is especially directed at believers, but I think it applies to all the girls in green. And so we wanted to take you through what some of them had to say about their journey and how they view the school.
They say build and nurture your DSG community. We've just spoken about that.
It will build you up, can carry you through life with warmth and care.
You'll become friends with classmates you never knew.
You'll be encouraged and cheered on by your brothers across the road.
You will share laughs until your belly aches.
You'll be drawn in and enfolded through dark times.
You will also have many, many parties with adventures to tell.
We won't go into that one in too many details. Hold the special family close and cherish it.
We don't believe there's anything else quite like it. Let's give a round of applause to that also.
So I think all that's left to say is just a huge thank you to the community. Thank you for coming today. Thanks for participating in all the festivities. I hope you've enjoyed it. We certainly help and love serving you in all our various roles and making DSG better. So thank you so much to all the parents who've attended today and for the girls for somewhat staying awake here in the front.
And I would like to extend that thank you to very specific groups of people. So again, Council, thank you very much for a magnificent year, and thank you for being so accessible, so passionate about our school, so skillful and so clever, but so humble all the time. To the staff, thank you for a magnificent year. Damn, I'm not supposed to do this.
Well, I'm just hanging in there because
Okay,
Michelle, we'll have our cry later.
But really, staff, I cannot tell you how passionate I am about what I see you do every day. I saw this week in Balloon Week a lot of people, and most of the people I saw were very excited. They were laughing and having a jol, and there were girls and parents mostly. And I looked at the staff and I saw people who are very tired because they have made this happen. And you deserve your half-term break, but thank you so much for every day's dedication. And also this year, that has been so special, but not easy. Please give the staff a hand. And then to the friends of DSG, including all the special guests who are here today, and many others out there who might be old boys and old girls, or even family members, or just people who just love our school because they got to know it, and who support us in many, many ways. And also then, last but not least, the parents and the girls of the school. You are the people we work for and we care for. And we want to say thank you for your passion and your loyalty. We sometimes wrestle a little bit about things we get wrong, because we are, I know, stretch of the imagination, a perfect school, but it is very special to be with you and in this community. And thank you for everything that you bring to the school. Every girl who goes flat out and does her thing. Every parent who stands behind her. Every guardian, every grandparent, and roots for her. It's a very special community to be a part of. So thank you to all of you. And then in the staff, there are 3 people I want to give a special thank you to this year because they will be leaving us. Firstly, Mrs. Gwyneth Thompson, who has taught history here for many years, and I think really is a ninja in her profession. I know many of you and many old girls and boys have gained from her out-the-box way and how she just made them fall in love with the subject. Whenever she can corner me, she tells me about what they've done today in the class, and it's always something different. We are really losing an exceptional teacher, and we wish you all the best and Godspeed as you go further. Thank you very much. We're also saying goodbye to Ms. Nosi Lukene. She is a teacher at the junior school, and someone who's got a special place in our hearts because she came to DSG as an intern, I think 6 years ago, and went through the development that the school had to offer her. And at the end of her internship, we had to beg her to stay because she was just too good to let go. And she's gained wonderful experience over the last 2 years as a teacher at the junior school, and she'll be moving on. And we want to say thank you, Nosi, for what you brought to the girls, and may God bless you in your future. We have a retiree in our midst, Mr. Rick van Heerden, our rock star. He is just someone completely unique. In the music school, when he grabs the saxophone, the party comes alive. He's also one of the people on the staff who really kept me on my toes in terms of my thinking, and always comes with an angle that is very interesting. He's got a wonderful way of looking at the world. He's retiring and leaving us, but not leaving town, luckily, so we hope to hear him at gigs and at the Arts Festival, maybe. But Rick, thank you for all the wonderful teaching and education that you brought to children through your music, and the difference you made at the school for many years. The last staff member I want to mention is Ms. Shelley Strait, but luckily, Ms. Stratton is not going to leave us, but she is stepping down as head of Merriman, house director of Merriman, after, I think, 8 years, in which she had a huge impact there. And I know that many families are very sad to see her go. But she will still be among us. We can still use her as our sage and as our wise woman. But we say thank you for serving the girls with such love and passion for so many years. Let's share your shout out. And in the same breath, we wish Godspeed to Brolin Hamid. Mrs. Hamid, who will be taking over those very big moccasins. And I ask the girls of Merriman to come behind her rock solid and make it a success with Ms. Hamid. I think you're very lucky to have her as your new house director. Finally, to the matrics. It has been a very special year with you. And in fact, it was a special 3 years with you from our boxing days in grade 10 in the chapel, where we had to sort each other out a little bit, to here, where you finally threw me in the fountain. But I will remember you fondly, and I will miss you a lot. We've said a lot to the matrics already, so I'm not going to give them pearls of wisdom. They've had it ad nauseum in the last week or so. But what I do want is to play you matrics a song that expresses how I feel, and with that, we will bow out. So here's for you matrics.
Miss me when you're gone. Oh, yeah. I'll miss me when you're gone. Don't know how to say it, but when I think about us, it tears my heart up to think about you walking away. I guess that all things come to an end.